Come, let us practice Tantric Chanting to help us meditate like a Jedi. So, throughout the practice, the three common themes will be bliss and letting go, awareness and letting go, and love and letting go. We're going to start with bliss and letting go. In Tibetan, some Tibetans refer to as tigles, channels, winds, and drops. As the tip of our left index finger supports the great knuckle of our right index finger, palms up in our lap, let us practice the energy work of bliss and letting go in such a manner that it feels as if the force itself is giving us a kiss upon the top of our head. By the way, I would remind you that the third enlightenment factor is energy. There we go. I think that'll work. So, there is no need for blind faith. There is no need for the exhausting labor of visualization. The most efficient method is to simply chant the following 6 syllables. Lama, come to this crown. You don't even have to think of Lama literally. You can think of it figuratively as a metaphor of the teachings, if you wish. In this illustration, the bronze statue of green Tata represents us, the meditator. The red Buddha represents either our teacher or the teachings, or whatever you please. Lama, come to pay crown. 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 As promised, we now come to awareness and letting go, which, as you can tell, is known by many names, including Trek shows slicing through dualities, obscuring emotions of dread and desire, or pushing and pulling. If we try to use, so this is interesting, this is important. I say it a lot, but it's super, super important. Sturgeon's Law reminds us that 90% of everything sucks. Ask old Lao Tzu, and he would say that the suckiness would be Yang's patriarchy, religious or irreligious. We are all born with 2 systems in the basement of our brain, a cooperative system and a competitive system. The competitive system, which is responsible for short-term survival. When we get stuck there as humans, we are prone to being rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel. However, when we are able to no longer be controlled by these tendencies, and instead we begin to give birth to the tendencies to be flexible, loving, rational, laid back, egalitarian, lucid, cooperative, and kind. In terms of Taoism, we would think of this as yang and yin. In terms of Buddhism, we would think of this as the Buddha and his foolish cousin Devadatta, regardless of whether they really existed or were mere archetypes. These are realities of neuroscience. Sadly, the majority of humans, the majority of meditation teachers, are not only stuck in this yang world view, but they think it's wonderful and they promote it. They actually promote it. Believe it or not, good old Dalai Lama, who means well, is so indoctrinated that he teaches that fear is awesome and it should be embraced as part of the spiritual path. So you got these rigid folks stomping about the countryside, insisting that people actively focus and actively analyze. Sounds good. What could possibly be wrong with that? Well, the funny thing is our prefrontal cortex, specifically the dorsolateral medial regions, are evolved to be used in a nuanced manner, which we will explore in a moment or two. When we use them, when we overuse them, when we do what Boris Karloff did and used his Grammy Award as a doorstop, when we misuse our own front of our brain, we begin presenting with symptoms of depression and we accidentally trigger our own amygdala, the seat of anxiety and aggression. I think we can all agree that none of us woke up and said, you know, I need more anxiety and aggression. I think I'll torture myself. And yet, when most people submit to so-called spiritual training that features active concentration and active contemplation, they are miserable and they are cranky. I've done that. I don't want to ever do that again. I don't want you to endure that anymore. That's why I'm doing this stuff for free. So here's the wild thing. As you can see right here, there's something else in the brain, and that would be our spinal cord, whose fancy name is our autonomic nervous system. Some people refer to it as the equipment of our Buddha nature, because every time we inhale, we are wired to automatically access the middle bit of our spinal cord, whose fancy name, next time you play Scrabble, whose fancy name is sympathetic nervous system. And it has evolved to notice in a very special way, to vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly notice all mind's antics of perception. You know, seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, smelling, and the like, including the full spectrum of human emotions, intentions, cognitions, recollections, and imaginings. The full spectrum, whether that which we notice is external or internal, physical or mental, pleasurable or painful, interesting or boring, glorious or grotesque. As someone with a shit ton of disabilities and a tragic backstory, there is no shortage of grotesqueries. And yet, despite the scariness of that, there are tremendous benefits when we stop competing against our own autonomic nervous system and begin cooperating with it. We will notice that our amygdala begins to mellow out. Or as they say in medicine, calm the fuck down. We also notice the gentle stimulation of our anterior cingulate gyrus, which functions as the hub of our mirror neurons and consequently the seat of empathy, which is lovely. Great. It sounds wonderful. Oh yeah, by the way, a fringe benefit of cooperating with our autonomic nervous system at least once every 12 hours or so is that our choices and utterances and deeds begin to flow not from calculated contrivance, not from scattered, not from wild scatteredness, but from deeply centered spontaneity. This is what is known as effortless effort, or Wu Wei. This is what is known as expedient means. This is the sixth fold of the Buddha's Eightfold Path. This is the mechanism that allows us to use all the subroutines of our central nervous system in the most sustainable method. When you read the biographies and the autobiographies of Nobel laureates, they seem to follow a similar outline. They began as children to show an aptitude and interest in the hard sciences. They studied for want of a better term, the alphabet of science and the empirical method. Once they had mastered that and they completed their training, they began working on a project. And using all the right tools and all the right procedures, they eventually hit a roadblock. And at that point, being meticulous and fastidious fails them. They have to begin exploring creativity. In an effort to reassure his fellow academics, Einstein reassured them that it's okay. Creativity is simply intelligence at play. So the greatest breakthroughs that result in Nobel Prizes come from people using their entire brain in the most sustainable way to think outside the box responsibly, safely, rationally, if that makes sense. Sounds great. Sign me up. How do we do that? Simple. The easiest way to throw the metaphoric brick through the plate glass window of our own destructively habitual tendencies to compete against our own autonomic system is to silently and mentally recite the verb watch each time we feel air enter our nostrils, and to silently and mentally recite the verb rest each time we feel air exit our nostrils. This is not 24/7. This is just for the time we spend in practice. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. In fact, it's not even the entirety of our practice. It's just when we're doing the formal practice of mindfulness and meditation. The seventh fold and the eighth fold of the Buddha's Eightfold Path. Cool. Now, a lot of people find meditating to be kind of scary. And so here's a lifeline so you won't feel scared. The proverbial breadcrumbs you can leave behind you as you wander through the forest of the unknown. You could touch the tip of your left thumb to the bottommost set of creases on its index finger. Did I say yet? Left. We do this to keep track of our first set of 16 inhalations. How are we going to count those 16 inhalations? On our right hand. We're going to advance our right thumb every time we silently and mentally recite the verb watch during our inhalation. Together, let's do that right now. By the way, the practice text that I use is available for free download. Everything I do is free. There are no paywalls. The Buddha did not charge for teachings. The Christ did not charge for teachings. Why should I? Lao Tzu did not charge for teachings either. Well, I've run out of fingers in my right hand. What do? Simple. I advance my left thumb to its second set of creases. And this is how we will keep track of the next 3 sets of 16 inhalations each. Simultaneously, the tip of our left index finger, doing double duty, is going to support the great knuckle at the base of our right index finger, palms up in our lap. Now you could say, dude, this is complicated as hell. Fine. But repetition is the mother of skill. Come to these live streams every 12 hours or so, and within a week or two, this can feel very easy. So we're not concentrating on anything. We're not concentrating on our breath. We are treating our breath the way a piano student treats a metronome. It's simply a reminder. Oh, I'm breathing in. I think I'll say watch. Oh, I'm breathing out. I think I'll say rest. That's it. Now you can say, dude, I'm scared to notice things. I might notice some really scary shit. Yes, you might. You might recall some very painful shit. What do you do with that? Simple. Every time we relax into our exhalation, we are automatically accessing the bottom bit and the top bit of that same spinal cord known as our parasympathetic nervous system. And it has evolved in such a manner that as we relax into our exhalation, that which we noticed during our previous inhalation could fleetingly feel a little bit less stressful, a little bit less permanent, a little bit less defining, and even a little bit less tangible. That is, of course, until our next inhalation when the cycle begins anew. And so our job is not to push and pull at what we experience, but to make peace with what we experience. Whether that which we experience is pleasurable, painful, interesting, boring, glorious, or grotesque. There's always going to be elitists prancing about the countryside telling us that if we don't do what they say, we're going to burn in real or imagined hell forever. Gee, that's great. But these guys are not peaceful, and these guys are not joyful. They're cranky and angry and fearful, and I don't want to be like them anymore. How about you? I'd rather take the advice of people who are as loving and as peaceful and as joyful as I want to be. Because, after all, success leaves clues. So, we're going to take a moment to shift gears. It is Ahsoka Tano Thursday morning. Come, let us meditate like a Jedi, or continue meditating like a Jedi after about 30 seconds of housekeeping. This is the Dzogchen Sendai Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. For more than 30 years, I have harnessed my autistic special interests, as well as my ADHD hyperfocus, to spend about 8 hours a day, almost every day, studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each school of meditation so that I could become your personal, nerdy, neurodivergent guide to nirvana. Welcome, my friends, to meditate like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. Now, let's get back to it. And by the way, I said personal because at any time during this live stream, you can join me and type questions in the chat window. My only request is that's one question per entry, and then when I start answering your question, you stop typing. Otherwise, you'll kind of shoot yourself in the foot. By the way, while we're here, let's discuss the age-old question, what is enlightenment? Enlightenment does not mean we only feel certain emotions. Enlightenment does not mean we're Gandalf the Grey and can walk through walls. Enlightenment is nothing more than mastery of the Buddha's Eightfold Path. As children, we found the idea of mastering the skills of using the toilet, brushing our teeth, tying our shoes, riding a bike to be insurmountable. And yet, after much time and effort and tears, we eventually got so good at those four things that we could practice them spontaneously, habitually, easily, and effectively. Likewise, the Buddha was convinced that we could master his path in as little as 7 days. Enlightenment is simply the Eightfold Path, and the dynamo which drives the Eightfold Path is simply the mindfulness and the meditation that we just played with. Simply by playing with mindfulness and meditation as little as once every 12 hours or so causes us to notice change, whether we want to or not. It induces us to practice kind intention, kind communication, kind conduct, and kind commerce, whether we want to or not. It simply works with our neural pathways in such a way as to make kindness an inevitability. Kindness is not what we feel, it's what we do. So we can feel cranky and still be kind. You can be annoyed at someone, and if they start choking death in front of you, do the Heimlich and save their life. That doesn't make you a hypocrite, it makes you an adult. And as I mentioned several minutes ago, the more we practice this mindfulness and meditation, the more our choices and utterances and deeds flow from love's deeply centered spontaneity to help us experience the effortless effort that is centered spontaneity. So this path can be mastered in as little as a week. that is taught by the Buddha in the penultimate passage of the Satipatthana Sutta. Does that make it true? No. But it's really neat. Despite the ravings of patriarchy that talk about the path of enlightenment being arduous and painful and requiring an ocean of lifetimes, Buddhism can do it in a week. Regardless of when you live or where you live or your gender or your race or your caste, anyone can do this deal. Which I think is pretty damn liberating. So we've talked about bliss and letting go and awareness and letting go. And then we come to the wisdom of letting go. Also known as leaping over pride, subtractions to omniscience, which sounds very fancy. That's how, or it's known in Tibet as Tokal. So let us practice holocron-like exercises of emptiness, impermanence, and interdependence. We're going to begin by chanting a disclaimer. Rather than indulge our controlling tendencies with our follies of active visualization, emotion, magic, and belief, we could just recite these wise words in harmony with our breathing and allow our subconscious to do the heavy lifting. Let us therefore sidestep the rigidity that confuses metaphors and statements literal, and instead relax into the flexibility that savors the chance explaining metaphors or similes. Let's chant an explanation of this 10-syllable mantra. There are many ways to explain it. This is how I explain it. Om symbolizes bringing to mind, Tade symbolizes spiritual liberation. Tade symbolizes physical liberation. Ture symbolizes blessing. So symbolizes the wish that all beings master such dynamic kindness. One moment. Okay, so there's nothing spooky here. We're just simply playing with syllables. There are many syllables arranged in many different sequences that have different effects on our experience of energy. Personally, as one who is a sensitive, that's how my neurodivergence works, I found that a different energy signature for different mantras. I like using this one. As someone who is disabled, I rely on this mantra's energy signature to give me the energy to teach several times a day, as opposed to lie on my side and just watch YouTube all day long, which would be so boring. Okay, so we got our ducks in a row. Let's go for it. The Buddha, in the Satipatthana Sutta and the Anapanasati Sutta and the Mahasatipatthana Sutta, the Buddha made it clear that all our experiences of phenomena could fit into 4 categories: the circumstantial, the physical, the interpersonal, and the mental. Or if you prefer Pali, Dhamma, Kaya, Vedana, Chitta. Now, let's begin with the circumstantial. As we relax into our exhalation, all the circumstances or lots we saw during our previous inhalation could feel as appearing and ungraspable or empty as a Buddha's. Real or imagined paradise, pure land or vati of light. And so we see those two ases say that this is a simile, not to be taken literally. Let us divide the silent and mental recitation of this 6-syllable synopsis of that which we just chanted between our inhalation and our exhalation. No, we're not working magic. No, we're not trying to visualize. We're not trying to not visualize. All we're doing is passively. Remember that word passive? Remember the path is practiced in a manner that is vulnerable, passive, visceral, random, and fleeting? Yes. So, by silently and mentally reciting these words in harmony with our inhalation and exhalation, we are simply exercising the neural pathways responsible for letting go. Lots seen, yet quite empty. And now it gets exciting. We're now going to cross the threshold of authentic mantra meditation, where we're not trying to change what we feel. We're not trying to manifest. We're not trying to be Elmer J. Fed, I own a mansion and a yacht type of bullshit. We are going to practice the wisdom of letting go. I should say wisdom and letting go. And here's how that works. As we breathe in, we're going to silently and mentally recite the entirety of the 6-syllable synopsis. During our exhalation, we're going to do two things simultaneously. We're going to physically relax as best we can while striving to chant the 10-syllable mantra 4 times per breath for a total of 4 breaths. Now, if this is your first rodeo, please give yourself permission to have a learning curve. Life is difficult. We don't need to make it harder by beating ourselves up every time we try to learn something new. Om Tare Nare Nure Suwa, Om Tare Nare Nure Suwa, Om Tare Nare Nure Suwa, Om Tare Nare Nure Suwa. When I first began on the Tantric path many decades ago, I learned many ways to chant mantras. Some were protracted, some were melodic and lethargic. Some were high speed and whispered. But eventually I came upon a teacher who was who taught this method of chanting, which helps us to practice physical letting go and mental release, which is so integral to the Buddha's path. This physical relaxation, known as passaddhi, is the fifth fold to the fifth enlightenment factor. Super important. Om Tariru Nare Suwa, Om Tariru Nare Suwa, Om Tariru Nare Suwa, Om Tariru Nare Suwa. Om Tariru Nare Suwa, Om Tariru Nare Suwa, Om Tariru Nare Suwa, Om Tariru Nare Suwa. Om Tariru Nare Suwa, Om Tariru Nare Suwa, Om Tariru Nare Suwa, Om Tariru Nare Suwa. So having played with our first metaphor of the circumstantial, we're now going to explore our second metaphor of the circumstantial. We're being super thorough. As we relax into our exhalation, the circumstances or lots we saw during our previous inhalation could feel as impermanent and interdependent, as if they could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could then laughingly absorb into this body or form. Into form, all lots melt. We now bring our experience of the physical into the path of the wisdom of letting go. As we relax into our exhalations, our body... Let's try that again. As we relax into our exhalation, our bodies or forms we felt during our previous inhalation could feel as sensual yet as non-graspable or empty as a Devi or Yidam's real or imagined body of light. Forms felt yet quite empty. Om Taridu Naridu Suwa, Om Taridu Naridu Suwa, Om Taridu Naridu Suwa, Om Taridu Naridu Suwa. Om Taridu Naridu Suwa, Om Taridu Naridu Suwa, Om Taridu Naridu Suwa, Om Taridu Naridu Suwa. Om Taridu Naridu Suwa, Om Taridu Naridu Suwa, Om Taridu Naridu Suwa, Om Taridu Naridu Suwa. Om Taridu Naridu Suwa, Om Taridu Naridu Suwa, Om Taridu Naridu Suwa, Om Taridu Naridu Suwa. As we relax into our exhalation, the bodies or forms we felt during our previous inhalation could feel as impermanent and interdependent, as if they could blissfully melt into rainbow lights that could laughingly absorb into this communicational speech. Into speech, all forms melt. Remember, enlightenment is not paved with blind faith nor pseudo-intellectual mental striving. It's a gentle, easy, pleasurable path. Joy is the barometer of our practice. If it isn't blissful, then, as Bugs Bunny said to Daffy Duck, we've taken a wrong turn in Albuquerque. So now we're going to bring our experience of the interpersonal into the path of the wisdom of letting go. As we relax into our exhalation, all interpersonal communication or speech we heard during our previous inhalation could feel as resounding yet non-graspable or empty. Oopsie. As a real or imagined horizontal mantra rosary of light. Speech heard yet quite empty. So there's no intellectual process here. Every time we breathe out, we are already wired to relax. Every time we relax, things fleetingly, momentarily feel a little bit less tangible. So that's it. The secret of emptiness, the secret of shunyata, the secret of anatta, the secret of selflessness is simply as we relax, things seem less defining. Things seem less solid momentarily. That's it. Nothing to believe. It's just something to play with, like a child with a new toy on it during a holiday. When I was a little boy, on Christmas morning, my sister got Barbie dolls and outfits, and I got Hot Wheels, and I was elated. Hot Wheels. That lets you know I was born in 1965. A senior Gen Xer. Om Tare Nare Nure Suwa, Om Tare Nare Nure Suwa, Om Tare Nare Nure Suwa, Om Tare Nare Nure Suwa. Om Tare Nare Nure Suwa, Om Tare Nare Nure Suwa, Om Tare Nare Nure Suwa, Om Tare Nare Nure Suwa. Om Tare Nare Nure Suwa, Om Tare Nare Nure Suwa, Om Tare Nare Nure Suwa, Om Tare Nare Nure Suwa. Om Tare Nare Nure Suwa, Om Tare Nare Nure Suwa, Om Tare Nare Nure Suwa, Om Tare Nare Nure Suwa. As we relax into our exhalation, the experience of the interpersonal speech or communication we had during our previous inhalation could feel as impermanent and interdependent, as if it could blissfully melt into rainbow lights that could delightfully absorb into this mind. Into mind all speech melts. The irony of using this rainbow yoga is that it uses our own inherent self-centeredness to transcend our self-centeredness, which is deliciously ironic, is it not? In addition to bringing our experience of the mental into the path of the wisdom of letting go, we're also going to elaborate on the metaphor of emptiness. As we relax into our exhalation, all the lucid perceiving, emoting, intending, thinking, recalling and imagining minds we noticed during our previous inhalation. Could feel as lucid yet non-graspable or empty as a real or imagined. One syllable seed or bija mantra of light. Un momento, if you please. Thanks for the love. Mind's clear yet quite empty. Clear just means lucid. Clear just means we're able to notice things. Sight, sound, sensations, flavors, scents, emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, and imagining. You know, the whole schmear. Om dare do dare do re so wa. 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 As we relax into our exhalation, these minds could feel as impermanent and interdependent, as if they could blissfully melt into rainbow light, that could delightfully absorb into a vast empty void. Now here's the extensive explanation of the metaphor. Like the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which although could look tantalizing to the eye, could feel non-graspable to the hand. That's it. That's all that's meant by emptiness. Mystery solved. Leonardo da Vinci insisted that the zenith of elegance was simplicity. Albert Einstein insisted that any educated idiot can make things more complicated and difficult and violent, but that it takes a lot of courage and a little bit of genius to move in the opposite direction. Simplicity is the key to wisdom. Into void all minds melt. And now we return to awareness and letting go, known in Tibet as Trek Cho. slicing through dualities, obscuring emotions of dread and desire and push and pull and the like. By silently and mentally reciting the verb want every time we feel air enter our nostrils, and by silently and mentally reciting the verb rest each time we feel air exit our nostrils, we're able to watch mind's antics and rest in its fleetingly non-graspable nature. Or aspect. Oops, here we go. We come to our second and final practice of bliss and letting go this morning, known as Tikles, channels, winds, and drops. Behold this bronze statue representing us, the meditator, and this red illustration of a Buddha representing our teacher, real or imagined, or this the teachings. As the tip of our left middle finger supports the great knuckle of our right middle finger, palms up in our lap. Let us practice the third enlightenment factor of energy, of the energy work of bliss and letting go, in such a manner that it feel like the force itself is giving us a hug. To do this, once again, we require, boy, that's a tongue twister, isn't it? To putting a W and an R word together. Ugh. To do this, we require neither blind faith nor the exhaustive, strenuous work of visualization. The most efficient way is simply to chant the following 6 syllables. Lama, blend with this mind. 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 That was quick. And now we're off to the races with another exciting episode of Awareness and Letting Go, wherein we slice through duality's obscuring emotions. That doesn't mean we stop them from existing. It simply means we slice through the puppet strings that seek to control us like sad marionettes. As we feel our chest swell with breath, silently and mentally we could recite the verb watch. As we feel our chest subtly sink as gently we exhale, silently and mentally we could recite the verb rest. Thusly, we will find that we are watching the antics of mind and resting in its non-graspable aspect. We come to love and letting go, the second leap over, where this time we leap over, our second toe call, this time we leap over jealousy as obstructions to omniscience, which sounds really, really fancy. Let us practice the holocron-like exercises of love and letting go. So I'm not sure if, well, there's a lot of people matriculating in and out of this class, so I am going to not skip this bit. Don't be shy. There is no shame in gently adjusting your legs. I'd rather adjust my legs than exacerbate my arthritis. Together, rather than indulge our controlling tendencies with all volleys of active visualization, emotion, magic, and belief, we could just recite these kind words in harmony with our breathing and allow our subconscious to do the heavy lifting. Let us therefore sidestep up the rigidity that confuses metaphors with statements literal, and instead relax into the flexibility that savors the chance explaining metaphors as similes. Om symbolizes mindfulness, Tade symbolizes spiritual liberation. Tutade symbolizes physical liberation, Tude symbolizes blessing. Soa symbolizes the wish that all beings master such dynamic kindness. The Buddha was fond of organizing all phenomena under 4 categories: the mental, the interpersonal, the physical, and the circumstantial, or if you prefer Pali, Chitta, Vedana, Kaya, and Dhamma. So right now, let us bring our experience of the mental into the path of loving kindness, which is the second fold of the Buddha's Eightfold Path. May all minds of all beings now be as enlightened or... Here we go. What I'm doing is I'm highlighting the words as that infer we're using a simile. May all minds of all beings now be as joyfully enlightened or Bodhi as the mind of a real or imagined Buddha symbolized by a bija, one suitable seed mantra tamotic lay drop. We're not trying to work magic. We're not trying to be Gandalf the Grey. We're not trying to whip ourselves up into a frenzy of belief or squeeze emotion out of our heart as if we were wringing a wet washcloth. We're not trying to exhaust ourselves with a visualization. By passively reciting these words, silently and mentally in harmony with our breathing, we are gently exercising the neural pathways that support empathy. That's it. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. And now we come to our first of our 4 final exercises of mantra meditation this early morning. During our inhalation, we passively and gently recite the entirety of the 6-syllable synopsis, Bodhi joy for all minds, as we breathe in. As we breathe out, we're going to do two things. We're going to physically relax as best we can, while simultaneously striving to chant the 10-syllable mantra 4 times per breath for a total of 4 breaths. If this is your first rodeo with me, please give yourself permission to have a learning curve. Life is difficult. We don't need to make it harder by beating ourselves up every time we try to learn something new. Om da de do da de do de so wa. Om da de do da de do de so wa. Om da de do da de do de so wa. Om da de do da de do de so wa. Om da de do da de do de so wa. Om da de do da de do de so wa. Om da de do da de do de so wa. Om da de do da de do de so wa. Om da de do da de do de so wa. Om da de do da de do de so wa. Om da de do da de do de so wa. Om da de do da de do de so wa. Om da de do da de do de so wa. Om da de do da de do de so wa. Om da de do da de do de so wa. Om da de do da de do de so wa. Let us now bring our experience of the interpersonal into the path of love, the third fold of the Buddha's Eightfold Path. May all relationships, communication, or speech of all beings now be as peacefully loving as a real or imagined Buddhist speech or communication symbolized by this horizontal 10-syllable mantra. Peaceful love for all speech. Om da de do da de do de so wa. Om da de do da de do de so wa. Om da de do da de do de so wa. Om da de do da de do de so wa. Om da de do da de do de so wa. Om da de do da de do de so wa. Om da de do da de do de so wa. Om da de do da de do de so wa. Om da de do da de do de so wa. Om da de do da de do de so wa. Om da de do da de do de so wa. Om da de do da de do de so wa. Om da de do da de do de so wa. Om da de do da de do de so wa. Om da de do da de do de so wa. Om da de do da de do de so wa. Let us bring our experience of the physical into the path of love, the fourth fold of the Buddha's Eightfold Path. May all bodies or forms of all beings now enjoy the beautiful health depicted in Buddhist statuary of the beautiful body of a Yidam archetype of enlightenment such as Green Tata. Health beauty for all forms. Om Tariru Nariru Risuwa, 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 Om Tariru Nariru Risuwa. Om Daniru Naniru Risuwa, 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 Om Daniru Naniru Risuwa. Let us now bring our experience of the circumstantial into the path of love, the fifth fold of the Buddha's Eightfold Path. May all circumstances, all lots of all beings now have the safety of great fortune or boon, as a Buddha's real or imagined paradise, pure land or Avanti. Great fortune for all lots. Om Dariru Nariru Risuwa, 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 Om Dariru Nariru Risuwa. We come to this early morning's final practice of awareness and letting go. As our lungs swell with breath, let us silently and mentally recite the verb watch. As we feel our chest subtly sink as gently we exhale, let us silently and mentally recite the verb rest. And as such, watch the antics of mind and rest in its non-graspable aspect. Let us seal our practice. In our compassion may we long to free all beings from the toxic tyranny of dread, desire, and delusion, metaphorically known as the three mental poisons. In our pragmatism may our liberation of all others be fueled by the three wish-fulfilling jewels of following the Buddha's example, applying his instructions, and cooperating with his students. Having sat for the better part of 90 minutes, it could be refreshing to conversationally recite the 8-syllable synopsis of these past 2 pages. May we free all through the 3 jewels, while performing 3 repetitions of Tibetan-inspired squat thrusts. Woof! All right, here we go. Woo! All the way up. Ah, good grief. Ah. Oh yes, this could help. Oh, this is ready. Let's just set this down and then align the camera. There we go. That's the tail wagging the dog. All right. All right, here we go. May we free all through the 3 jewels. May we free all through the 3 jewels. Whew. May we free all through the 3 jewels. Whoops, let's get back here. Sorry, guys. All right. You have taken your first step into a much larger world. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. In approximately 2.5 hours, I would very much like to return to lead today's second session of Tantric Chanting to help us meditate like a Jedi. And if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.